My name's Krystal, and my mother was murdered last year. I was always obsessed with the dead, but the obsession got worse once she crossed over. Before she had died, I had already ghost hunted at some of the most haunted locations across the world. But ghost hunting is different for me now. Something's changed. It's personal. So join me and my paranormal diaries as I enter the doorway into the other side. Welcome to my paranormal podcast. Join me now. Hey guys, what is up? Hopefully you can hear me here. Welcome to Ghost Girl Diaries, the podcast. And I know we haven't been here in a while. It's yours truly, Krystal Leandra. It is a podcast for those of you that are brave enough to join the circle. Confirm with me if you can hear me live. Hopefully we have everything going okay. I'm going to bring in Kat. Kat is not on video today. She's in the process of moving her office around, but she is on audio. Kat, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
It says so. It says your audio is bouncing. So let's pray to God that everybody can hear both of us. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. I'm going to log on to...
As far as right now, we're good to go on my side. But, I did a test run with Ashley the other day. It was like a week ago. And it said all of our audio levels were fine. And they were not. In fact, they were not at all. So
that's so weird.
I know. So that's why this was kind of going to be just like a test run for Kat and I. And then we were like, well, if we're going on, let's just do like a short, hey, what's up? 2023 podcast. So that's what we're doing. Everybody says they can hear us. Yay. Good. Okay. So, Kat and I want to do a little catch up where we've been and what's going on. And God, the sun just started blaring in my office. Can you guys see that on the video? So today is a hardcore day for me because today is my mother's death date. She's been gone for an entire year. I can't believe it's been a year. I'm absolutely traumatized by it. And I can't believe the sun is blaring in like that. I feel like that's my mom being like, I'm here too. We just want to talk about everything that's going on, how we've been, sort of where we're going with the podcast, and what our goals are for this new year. And we've missed you guys so much. I've gotten all of your messages on all social media platforms, wishing me well. And I love you guys. You guys really are like my extended family. Funny Redemption's on, Laura's on, Nick's on. Oh my gosh, Anna, everybody you guys are all awesome. We've missed you guys so much. And I can't wait to kind of catch up with you today. This probably won't be a normal long stream like we usually do. It's me, especially because Kat's face is the ghost of Kat, right?
It's just the voice of God over here, just in an empty box.
The ghost of Kat. She's redoing her office. She's getting really cool office furniture in, and I can't wait to see it. I'm so excited for you.
I am too. It's just in shambles right now. I was like, there's no way I could try to save this for the stream.
Like, I don't want anybody to see this, okay? Like, it's a private matter.
I don't even want to see it right now, okay?
Oh my God.
So
I'm dead.
In the other room.
So let's see, I'm going to be honest with you guys, is that taking most of 2022 off was the best decision that I've ever made. And within our group and production group, some people were conflicted about it. Some people thought, I should push through even though my parents died. And I was suffering a lot. I've been a very big advocate for mental health. I've talked about it openly. We all have. And I didn't know how bad my mental health was until about November. My mother passed away January 17th of last year. My dad, my biological father, passed away in early June, and I was just a mess. I still am. I'm not the same person I was, and I never will be. But it changed me a lot, and I was working through that. I know a lot of you have seen me, building my social media privately, my makeup channel, and all that stuff. And honestly, I found a lot of redemption and comfort being able to do my makeup as an art. It was like a form of therapy for me throughout the year. And I know a lot of people were like, well, why aren't you doing Ghost Girl Diaries? Why are you just doing your makeup stuff? It's like, because I needed therapy and I just needed some time for myself. And I finally kind of started coming out of that clouded headspace in November. And I looked back and realized I didn't know how bad I was previous to that. It's amazing what severe trauma does to your brain. And it's interesting considering that I am in paranormal, where we do deal with murder victims and traumatic deaths. And I feel like I can connect with them on that level more than ever before now that I have experienced my mom's murder. Not that I wanted to, of course, that's not something that I'd ever want someone to experience, but it's made me connect on a deeper level and even opened up some bigger gifts. So with that being said, there's going to be a couple of changes coming in that I'd just like to chat about. I am going to start a private Patreon page again for Ghost Girl Diaries. Except this is going to be different than it was before. I'm going to be doing a private podcast a week for only subscribers. And the reason I'm doing this is because these are going to be very, very personal podcasts. Yes, related to paranormal, but from very personal things I've gone through with my mother's death and experiencing her on the other side. And I really only want people that want to be there, if that makes sense. So once a week, I'll be doing a podcast by myself on our Patreon. And I'm really excited to launch that because it's deep personal things I can't wait to share with you guys. Things I've learned not only through dreams, but just through understanding the other side on such a deeper level now that both of my parents have crossed over. We will be doing podcasts once a week, but I'm going to hopefully be bringing in even more guests. It's amazing how 2022 went because I had to remove a lot of people from my life after my parents' death. But it was like the universe blessed me with my soul tribe in a strange way. And through social media, I connected with a bunch of new people, mainly in the goth community, who accepted me with open arms and understood my trauma. And oddly, most of them live East Coast, which to me is a sign that I'm going to still move there, right? If I start connecting with my soul tribe that's, New York, Pennsylvania area. And I'm hoping to have some of these people come on as guest speakers for Ghost Girl Diaries. Of course, we're going to keep it haunted topics, but I would even like to bring in other topics that we go through, that makes us connected to the other side, whether that be relationships or sadness or family things. It's stuff that I've really already talked about in the past, but I think we could go even more in depth on it, and I'm kind of excited about it. Another little minor thing that I can't wait to announce is I mentioned last year, over the summer of 2022, I filmed a true crime documentary, and it finally was released in December. And if you haven't seen it yet, it's on Tubi. So Tubi is free. You can download the app if you have a Roku or your phone. And it's a JonBenet documentary. And essentially, I was invited to come in and speak as a resident, since I understood what it was like living in Colorado at the time of JonBenet's murder. I'm sorry, I'm still getting over an upper respiratory infection. It's interesting about the JonBenet documentary. I'm very proud of it. If you can't find it, can you, Kat, I know that you're doing double duty. Somebody just spammed the chat on Twitch. If you could remove them.
Okay. I'm going now.
I met JonBenet. I got to be in the middle of this, immersed in this documentary and understanding, what happened with JonBenet. I already knew the story, obviously, but really being enveloped with all of the characters that are involved, like her dad and her brother, and people that were investigators. There was a lot of people involved, and it was really interesting because sorry, my dogs are barking. It's probably FedEx. I had a lot of healing through JonBenet's father. Hang on a second. Sorry, I don't want the barking to continue. JonBenet's father, has been looking for, who killed his daughter for all these years. So many people like to point the finger at Burke, which is the brother, but there was DNA that was found on JonBenet. It was a semen stain, and they haven't been able to match that DNA to anybody as of yet. So the biggest message that JonBenet's dad has been trying to find is to be able to release that sperm sample from Boulder County, so that they can get it tested privately, possibly through like Ancestry DNA, and link to find out, who did this. Because he really finds Boulder County and the police department lax, that they haven't sort of done their job. So hearing his story and his side of this, I had mentioned that my mother had been, unfortunately the victim of someone that killed her, and I wasn't able to bring this person to justice. And the amount of healing that I had from her father was unbelievable. And, he had said something very similar to what I was experiencing, which is when you go through that deep amount of trauma, everything else is just noise, Like when you experience someone murdered and taken from you in such a horrific way on purpose, and then especially for him and I both not to be able to hold the assailant accountable that did this, you become like titanium. You become really tough. You become, almost, you mute out the outside world. Like, I even remember, like, I've been doing YouTube for so many years, and, people are going to leave mean comments on TikTok and everywhere else. Like, that's just part of our society. Our society is so damaged from their own trauma that they project that onto strangers and creators, right? So it's not really about that they hate your video or they think you're shit. It's that they're hurting inside, and they have no other way to project it than to put you down so that they feel better. But after my mom's murder, none of that hurt me anymore. Nothing was hurt. There's nothing anyone on this planet can say or do to me that will hurt me. And I found a lot of validation in that when I did the JonBenet Ramsey documentary. And it's something I'm very, very proud of. It's on Tubi. You can find it on, if you go to my Beacons page, it's like beacons.ai/Krystal Leandra, and I'll put the link, for the podcast and even on YouTube later, so you can find it. But if you go to Tubi and search the documentary, you will find it. And I don't know, oddly, I had been cast for that at the last minute. Essentially, the production company had seen, Ghost Girl Diaries. They had seen me doing creeps and cosmetics, found out that I was a Colorado native, and they were like, oh my God, like, we need to bring this girl in. And it was weird because when I filmed it, it was in June, and I was not at a time where I felt like I had really started. Actually, my dad had just died, like 2 weeks before. And they were like, we need you to film in LA, can you? And I don't know what strength I found within me to not only go from my mom's death to my father's death to now I'm filming in LA, but I did it. And I don't think I was really expecting to show up on set and learn so much and heal so much. And especially from such a big, not only nationwide case, but a planet-wide case. Everybody knew about JonBenet. And it was strange because it almost felt like home, because everything her father was saying about what he experienced with her death and her murder, and even his son, being, thrown around in the paparazzi and the public eye for being blamed. Although there's a sperm specimen that everyone keeps forgetting about, that like the assailant left a DNA sample, when it was very large, by the way, I saw it. So not only was he now like dealing with his daughter's murder and not capturing the assailant, but you have all of the tabloids trying to persecute his son. So it was just really interesting. I just in my mind thought I was going to go back to my roots, go back to Colorado where I grew up, and I got to film like this really cool documentary about a high known case. I had no idea I was going to come out of that so healed. And it's crazy too, because something I experience, I don't know, I'm going through a lot of changes still. Like a lot of people will talk to me and they're like, oh, I understand what you're going through because my mom died or my dad died at a young age. No, you don't. Unless you have a family member that was murdered and the person hasn't been persecuted and held accountable, you have no idea what I'm going through. You have no idea the level of trauma I'm going through. I spent $100,000. I spent my entire inheritance. I was broke as of January 2022. I spent my entire inheritance in 6 weeks trying to hire attorneys to sue the hospital here in Vegas for my mother, and I couldn't. I blew through $100,000 and I was broke. I had nothing. I was almost homeless, and I was willing to do whatever it took to hold the hospital and this nurse accountable for my mom's murder, because I know that she did it so freely. She's probably still in that hospital working, and she's probably still killing other patients, and she's done it before. And so now I have to carry around this burden for the rest of my life, that as much money as it matters, even if you have $1 million in the world, I was not going to be able to hold her accountable, because there are laws in the state of Nevada that protect her, that protect the hospital. So now that's another piece of baggage that I have to carry with for the rest of my life, is that I will not and I will never seek justice for my mother. And this woman will continue to go around killing other patients. And that makes me absolutely sick to my stomach. So I hate when people tell me they understand, because you have no idea what I have gone through, what I'm going through, and what I will be carrying. The amount of baggage that I will have to carry for the rest of my life is unbelievable. And I hope to God nobody ever has to experience what I've experienced. But I do know this. My abilities to the other side have opened up harder than they ever have before. My mother and I were best friends, and she visits me often, which is why I really need to do this podcast. My spirit guides are pushing me to do this private podcast for you guys. And I do know this, is that this is not the end. When you die here, we go home. This is not home. This is temporary. This is absolutely temporary. And this has only connected me more and deeper to the other side. And I really feel like Houdini became obsessed with connecting with his mother on the afterlife when she died. And that was when he got into like Ouija boards and pendulums and stuff. I understand now, because I am so obsessed. And it's weird because I've been into paranormal my whole life, right? Like, you guys know my story. I've written a book. I've been on YouTube for 7 years. I have millions of views. You guys know my story. But I was obsessed with paranormal before. I don't even have a word for it at this point. Obsessed doesn't even cover it. I feel like I literally live deeper on the other side now than I do on this planet. And I know that my job is to essentially be the liaison to share with you my experiences and what I understand about my mom's death, about murder. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I will say this. My mom does not care that she was murdered. And I know that sounds crazy. She doesn't hold resentment towards this person. She does not want me to seek out justice for her. She says that it's not my job while I'm on this planet. And that was a really hard pill to swallow, because that was all I wanted, was for her to seek justice. So I hope that eventually my voice for other people that have had other circumstances and understanding when a loved one is taken from you, they are just fine. My mom is home. She is happy. Honestly, it's so funny. I had another dream of her the other night, and I was crying in the dream, and somehow I called her on the phone, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I miss you so bad. You were my best friend. I talked to you 20 times a day. What am I going to do? And her answer was this, guys. I expected her to be sad back, right? Like, oh my God, I miss you too. Well, of course she misses me, but she was like, yeah, well, I try to check on you as often as I can, but I'm pretty busy over here. My point of this is that we get stuck in this cloud of judgment of being a human. We think that death is the end. We're so sad we don't get to see them. We don't know what's beyond the veil because we can't see it. But there's a whole, our old life is there. That's where we came from. And it's just so crazy, like, in the sadness and deep grief that I've experienced from her murder, it's been a really neat thing to see the other side and understand the other side. And it gives me a lot of comfort, considering I know that there will never be justice in her case. And I just really, really can't wait to share this stuff with you guys. I'm going to really put my heart and soul more into YouTube this year. I know I've taken, a break from YouTube for a little bit because of what happened with the old channel. My plan this year is to really build up the new channel and shoot more YouTube content. It will not be like it was before. This is a new version of Ghost Girl Diaries. I'm not going to do, paranormal show reviews unless it's like Kat and I chatting. But I do have other series in mind, especially like Ghost Girl Dreams, because I have dreams constantly of the other side. Even if it's a 5-minute video, I feel like it's some information that I just need to share with you guys, because I'm so deeply connected to it now. But if you haven't seen my documentary on Tubi, Tubi, it is called Suburban Nightmare, JonBenet Ramsey. And it was an absolute pleasure to be able to work on set with those producers were amazing. The entire staff was amazing. I got to shoot in Santa Monica, and like I said, at first I thought I was going in to film a documentary, but when I left, I realized I was filming something that healed me, because I got to understand the Ramsey side of the murder, and it healed me. It was something I really needed at that time. And I have no doubt in my mind that my guides put that in my, path at that time for that reason. Next thing up is, plans for 2023. I know that, Ghost Girl Diaries was a little bit neglected and in 2022, and I was working on my personal, but this year is about really combining the two, and not only doing my own content, but also doing Ghost Girl Diaries content, obviously the podcast. And, do you do, Kat, do you do yearly, like, oh, this year I'm going to do this, that, and above? Do you do that? What are they called?
I don't.
You said that so casual.
No. Yeah, oh my gosh, what the heck is the word?
Resolutions.
Yes.
No.
No. No.
I love it. No, I don't.
No, because ADHD, and it's just, I feel like I want to do something different like all the time.
Yep.
Can't follow through. It's so hard.
Yeah, Kat was like one of my therapists last year, so she's like, thank God that's over. Woo, that was rough.
Stop it. Stop it.
It's fine.
Always here.
So moving forward though, we're really excited about, I haven't finished editing the feature that we did. That's obviously a huge priority for me. It's good. That feature, isn't it? I mean, that's good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Y'all don't even know.
It's good. Woo! Like we
didn't even know.
We didn't even know. Oh yeah. And now good. That like even I've connected even more with the other side, I can't imagine what's gonna happen, when we shoot more in the future. So we're just gonna kind of talk about, what's going on with paranormal pop culture news. And there was something that kind of came to my attention yesterday, and it wasn't planned on being talked about, but I think it's really, really important to share with the paranormal community. I have a lot of concerns for what was shared with me, and I'm not going to talk about that until last. But let's go ahead and talk about some big things that are happening. Discovery merged with HBO Max and Warner Media. Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean?
There are some things happening.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of change.
A lot of changes, especially with Discovery and Travel Channel. It could be good. It could be bad. I mean, you look at HBO Max, who did, Game of Thrones, that cost millions of dollars. They have a lot of money to throw around. There's probably going to be a lot of cuts. If they essentially think it's shit, they'll probably cut it because they're not going to put their money and funding into it. And when mergers like this happen, you have to expect a lot of really big change. And I think that's why we probably didn't see a lot of new shows or anything like that coming out last year or even this year as of yet. So after you dealt with Amazon, what's your take on this? I mean, it's a big deal, right?
It is a big deal. I think it's a really big gamble, to be honest, because I feel like Travel and Discovery already went through a lot of changes recently. Mm-hmm. So I think it does say a lot that they're merging with HBO Max, because that does mean that good things are happening. Mm-hmm. My only thing is I'm just very curious how they're going to go about it all. Because essentially what they're saying is that by this summer, the app for HBO Max and Discovery Plus will be the same. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious what content will be out there during that time.
Well, and then they're probably looking at a lot of cuts.
Huge.
You can't have, the same position when a company is merging like this for two people. Mm-hmm. Not only cuts with that, but cuts within the community, cuts within executive producers. It could shake some things up. I think that big shows, especially like Ghost Adventures, is safe. Zach was obviously just named an executive producer, like almost director. I don't even remember what the title of it is, above where he's at, an executive. So I think he's probably safe. But anybody else that's lower on the ladder is probably in trouble.
Yeah. And that's the life of production, folks. It's hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
Hit or miss, you know, and it's all about views and ratings and numbers, you know.
It is.
So yeah,
And,
I'm
in
very
order to push
curious.
those, you also have to have a lot of self-promotion. Like you have to push your
Very much.
social media and push it yourself and do meet and greets with fans. And like, it doesn't just stop when you get signed. Like you still have to keep pushing yourself in certain aspects.
It's true. It's true. Because the show itself won't be the thing to keep you afloat.
No.
Connection with your fans, connection with those that have supported you throughout this process is really important, which is why we love you guys.
It is.
As well.
It's not even fans, it's community. It's like...
It's family.
Yeah.
It's family, you know? Everyone's witnessing on television what you're experiencing, and they all have a similar interest. I mean, that's huge. Connection's everything. But sometimes it can be misconstrued when you're just dealing with negotiations and production. Because it is very business oriented, but it's also fun. There's two sides to the coin. Absolutely.
It should be happy. It should be enjoyable. Absolutely. Ghost Hunters obviously made a comeback. We saw that. I don't know if I'm assuming they're going to get re-signed. I don't think they would bring a show like that in that has been around for so long. I know there's adjustments that have been made with, sorry, my dogs, with adjustments that have been made. Who's not back? Grant's not back.
I love Grant. I don't know why they don't want him or why he's not back.
He said he wasn't asked, is what he had said. But
it was so strange to me.
Well, he had quit for a while, so I think there was a little bit of bitterness going on between cast. But maybe he just needed a break.
That's fair, and that's respected. That's respected if you can own up to that. You know.
There's no word Amy and Adam. There's really no new updates on that, but they are doing paranormal events, which is interesting.
Yeah, they've been in New Hampshire a couple times this past year. I almost went to a couple of them.
I do like them. I would like to meet them.
I've heard really good things. I've heard they're really down to earth, which is awesome. I mean, that's great to have that access and to go to those locations with them and build those relationships and network, you know. But yeah, I'm curious what's going to be happening with that too. Any word on Chip?
He's popped up on my social media a few times, but I don't know. I mean, I think he does private readings sometimes. But I haven't heard, that he was involved with anything. I did. I had like another app on my Roku that I downloaded. It's like Philo, something like that.
Yeah.
And they had Chris Fleming on there, but I had thought that show was on the UK. But it popped up, but it's weird that they'll like stream him in the UK, but not here. So I don't know what that's about either. It's kind of strange how I think that the networks at this point are still trying to figure out how to do cable versus streaming. Yeah. I think it's still new. It's not like Netflix where it's been around for 15, 20 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it was with Destination Fear in the beginning. They had some issues with broadcasting later some of their seasons in the UK. Like it was like a month or two later. Yeah. It was a wicked big delay.
Strange.
Yeah.
Very strange.
That needs to be fixed because when you have it that inconsistent, that makes people mad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's not, I mean, I'm going into the business aspect of it, but they should fix that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think that they don't have the knowledge yet. I think, unfortunately, like they just launched this app like a year ago, if that, like during COVID. So I think it was going to take some time to get the feels, figure it out, see where it's going, see what they need to fix. But you're right. In the meantime, it can cause some big loopholes in the middle.
It's trial and error.
It is.
It's all a gamble.
Yep. Yeah, nothing in film is ever guaranteed, that's for sure. It's like trauma from Amazon. It's fine.
Woof, gosh.
House Calls with Zach is a new one that came out. Essentially, Zach does not want to travel via airplane. I think he's been pretty open and honest with everyone about he has fears of that. I assume it's a past life issue. So he's essentially sending the crew out to film while he's on the walkie-talkie. I haven't really, I've watched it, like specks of it. I'm not going to say it's my favorite. I'm not going to say it's the worst.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that he's an EP and executive now, and he's trying to make a little bit more money somewhere else, and he's kind of smart for doing it. I'm not going to say it's a bad idea.
Yeah, it's different. It's different and it works.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really cool because he is the face of it. I think it gives the rest of his crew an opportunity to kind of do
Mm-hmm.
the thing after all these years, which I think is really awesome. That, I mean, of course, they've been together so long. I mean, I would only imagine that trust is there.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty cool to kind of see them more
Mm-hmm.
and do their thing. But yeah, I only think I got through a couple of episodes of that one. I need to watch the rest of it just to see how it progresses.
I just think everybody's ready for fresh stuff. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't mean that it's
True.
bad. I think it's, time and film evolves and changes, which is what we always say. He did allude on social media a few months ago that possibly the Haunted Museum episodes, there might be a comeback coming in. I'm not sure if that's with Eli Roth, but he says that he has more things, in the works with it. And then Eli Roth obviously released a couple other series, including Urban Legend. I didn't watch that one. Did you?
No. No. When did that come out? I feel like that was at the start of me doing a show. I feel like that came out.
I think it was like October-ish.
Yeah, I was in a show then, so that's probably why. We should watch it.
A Ghost Ruined My Life is another one. I don't know. I tried to get into it, but it's a little cheeseball-y to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone's like waiting for new series to drop, and like the question is, when's it going to happen? Probably not until after this merge is complete, and who knows how long that will take. Now that they're merging, they have to come up with new budgets and like new beginning of the season budget. It's a huge deal, and when you're talking about budgets for shows, you're talking about millions and millions of dollars. And they have to figure out, I wouldn't want to be at the top of that chain.
No.
And they have to figure out who they're going to give what to and who's getting canceled because they can save that money. And that kind of, this was going to be sort of the end of our chat, honestly. I just wanted to do a quick half an hour chat. But like I said, something kind of came to my attention the last 24 hours. I had to ask Kat to do a little bit of research for me to make sure that it was legitimate. And I had about 6 people message me on social media. Okay. And these are fans of mine, fans of Ghost Adventures, fans of Destination Fear. And essentially they sent me some screenshots of a public statement that Dakota had put out. And essentially they wanted me to respond to this statement. And the reason I wanted to do some research before I talked about it was because I wanted to make sure that this was legit, because I couldn't believe that he said some of the things he said in this statement. Dakota in me has lost a fan. I'm quite disappointed in him as a filmmaker. He is also a co-executive producer on his own series. Kat and I also had to do some research to make sure that Zach was still his co-EP, and he is. They're 4 seasons in, trying to get a 5th season, and I was confused what had essentially happened, and I'm still a little bit confused. Essentially, he's upset that the merge has happened with Discovery, and he's not getting signed fast enough for a 5th season. And went off on a bit of a tangent online and created a public forum talking about his own EP, which is Zach. And I have a lot of concerns with that. And it tells me that Dakota doesn't have a lot of experience in this industry, because I'm seeing a lot of attitude and entitlement, and not a lot of gratefulness and understanding that in this industry, it's a dog-eat-dog industry with film, and nothing's guaranteed for life, especially when you're having a merge like this. But I think the last thing that he should be doing is talking badly about his own executive producer who's funding it. And when I say that, Zach Bagans is probably funding his show for hundreds of thousands of dollars per season. I don't know the budget, but I can guarantee you it's at least hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if someone is funding your series for hundreds of $1,000s, there's an old saying in film when you work with these production companies, and the saying is, don't shit where you eat. And Dakota just shat in his Cheerios for breakfast.
Like a lot.
And I don't, this is going to get out, unfortunately. Like, especially if I have all these people messaging me on Instagram, these screenshots, and I'm like, what's going on here? So I'm going to have Kat. Are you okay with reading the statement so that I can react to it? And then you can kind of talk about it was edited 4 times. He kind of got busted for talking smack, knew it, and tried to backtrack on what he said, but it was too late. It had already been up for like 5 or 6 hours at that point.
Yeah, I'll stop a paragraph at a time because it is pretty lengthy. But I think that reading the full statement is important because of a couple things. One, he posted this in a private group that I'm apparently a part of. I forgot that I've been a part of this group for quite some time. So it was pure luck that I was able to read it in its entirety. But also, it's very cut and dry with what was written. So I just think it's important to get all that information out there so there's no misconceptions or wrong wording of things. It's just there. So the first paragraph, he said, "Hey, DFAM."
When was this posted, by the way, officially? Because I didn't get notifications.
2 days ago.
Okay.
2 days ago. He said, "So where are we at with getting a season 5? We originally signed a 1-year deal with 3 options, which they still had to renew each year, but we were already under contract. This year is a bigger deal because our contract is up. So if they want our show to continue, a whole new deal has to be struck. Discovery merged with HBO and Warner Brothers. By this summer, the app for HBO Max and Discovery Plus will be the same app. The good part of that is having them together. There are a lot more people that the show will be available to. The bad part is that because of the merger, they have had to make many cuts. Many TV shows were dropped, and many really good people working for travel and other channels were laid off. So it is a scary time." That was the first paragraph. My first thing when I was reading through this and just kind of fact-checking thing, especially reading that first paragraph, was definitely regarding some of that inside info. I mean, wouldn't they, I feel like, wouldn't an NDA have them not discuss this with their fans?
Well, you've been in negotiations with me, so what do you think?
This is just a lot of information to be putting out there, and I think he thought it was safe because it's in a private group. But it ends up coming out eventually. You have a lot of fans on a page.
Made a huge mistake by releasing information about his contract, even details about the contract ending, needing a new contract. I think that was a huge mistake. I think he should have never. Yeah. I mean, production companies, the network, executive producers, not even Zach, there's other EPs are watching him. They're watching his every move. And now you have all these people that have screenshotted it. It's going to get out on the internet. He probably just hung himself. He probably just took a rope and hung himself. And, you do not ever, ever talk about your contracts, period. Ever. I don't care if it's the only way you can talk about your contracts is like me and Kat privately. You're not allowed to. That's part of being signed with the production company, and not only that, with the network and the EPs. You sign NDAs, you sign very lengthy contracts, and for him to expose any little bit of amount of information he's just walking into fire.
It's really, he's sharing too much. There's a line, there's a boundary I think you have to have with folks, especially with something like this that he's very clearly nervous about because of the merger. And I just feel like it doesn't matter if he's no longer under contract. I have a feeling that if you're getting ready to potentially have another contract, you should just be quiet.
Definitely.
And just tell your fans to watch it. And views matter. Love you guys. Done.
Yep.
Like, I feel like he's just sharing way too much right now. And it's just not a good look. And it gets worse.
It gets much worse.
Yeah. So the next paragraph, he says, To start the season, I would have said our chances are 50-50. However, you, the D-Fam, have really stepped up this season. We are trending well in Discovery Plus in both the USA and UK. So I think now there is a 75-25 chance we will get a new season. I'm hoping it includes traveling outside the USA. Ghost Adventures stay in a 4-state area because Zach doesn't fly. One of the ghost hunters also doesn't fly on planes, so their travel is also limited. We want to be the show that they can send all over the world. We're not exploring candy stores or our girlfriend's house.
Can you repeat that last sentence?
He said, we are not exploring candy stores or our girlfriend's house. Yikes.
So he's talking about Holly.
He's talking about Holly, and I feel like Ghost Adventures doesn't just explore candy stores. And I also feel like they've been outside of the US. So, to me, that just sounds very petty. And like his show is better than Ghost Adventures is really kind of what he's saying.
I'm not sure.
Which still makes...
I would throw
it makes no sense to me.
under the bus. I'm just not sure if that's a good idea.
Well, and this was the thing, is when I was kind of just fact-checking and just going through things and chatting with Krystal about it, my first question to her was, is Zach still EPing their show? Because I guess it would have made sense to me if he stopped EPing it and Dakota would say something like that. It's still not okay, but it would make sense, you know? But he's still EPing it. I just think that's really ballsy. I think that's really ballsy.
Well, is that the end of that second paragraph so that I can have...
Almost.
Okay,
almost.
Go ahead.
It says, we're going to the creepiest places with the darkest histories we can find. To do the best, we have to travel the world to find the best locations the world has to offer. What can you do to help? The main thing you can do is spread the word to new friends or family. This is pure organic growth. You can also replay seasons 1 through 4 and Trail the Terror. So that's the end of that second paragraph. Mm-hmm. There's 2 more.
So he's making fun of Zach, essentially, for not wanting to fly on planes because he has a legitimate fear. For some reason, he's now dragging ghost hunters into this conversation. I don't know what the hell Ghost Adventures did. Or, I'm sorry, Ghost Hunters.
Ghost Hunters.
What did Ghost Hunters have to do with this conversation?
And he, I guess what really gets me, too, is the fact that he's openly supported them and taken selfies with them and called them really good guys. And to me, this just makes them look ugly. It makes Dakota look ugly. And because he's the face of this, it makes Destination Fear look ugly.
Yeah.
Because why would you befriend and be friendly with someone and then talk crap about their show, because someone doesn't fly on planes? Like, how does that affect Destination Fear? Leave them alone. Like, focus on your ratings, focus on what's next for the contract, and just keep your mouth shut. Mm-hmm. Well, it just makes no sense to me.
And then we're going to make fun of Ghost Adventures and say all they do is investigate candy stores and their girlfriend's haunted house. So now you've not only dragged Ghost Adventures, who is your EP, who is the one paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for this, but you've also now just drug his girlfriend into this?
Yeah.
What is he thinking? This tells me he needs a PR team, because he cannot figure out how to keep his mouth shut on social media. So he needs to hire somebody so that he doesn't have diarrhea mouth ever again online.
I guess to me, the irony is like Ghost Adventures doesn't have to worry about getting re-signed.
That is the irony. And he has to. He's essentially mad that he hasn't gotten signed yet for his 5th season. And because he's mad that it hasn't happened fast enough, he's now kicking and turning everyone into a doormat around him, including his own executive producer. And
well, what makes it worse too is the fact that he knew exactly what he was doing. Again, there's a couple more paragraphs we'll chat about, but he knew exactly what he was doing, edited the post 4 times because the edit history is on there. And somebody commented and asked if it was okay for them to share what he posted in Ghost Adventures group. And Dakota responded and said no.
So he knew.
He said no.
So he knew he didn't want people to know he was talking shit about Zach.
What is he doing? And, in the other 3 times he edited it, it just kept getting shorter and shorter, which is what it should have been in the first place. And he removed the Zach thing. Mm-hmm. You've got to use your brain. Why work so hard? Because he's been editing all of his shows, which kudos to him. That's fine. But why work so hard on something and do that to the one person?
Sounds pretty entitled.
He sounds young and unprofessional and ungrateful for what he has, because he's looking around at everyone else when he needs to be focusing on himself right now. Mm-hmm. And focusing on the show. And I get he edited it, and maybe I don't know, maybe he did learn, maybe he didn't, but when this gets back to them, because it's going to, it's already thin ice right now with this merger. He might have just shot himself in the foot.
I feel embarrassed for both parties. I feel embarrassed for Dakota right now, and I feel embarrassed for Zach, and I'll tell you why. I know there's more, but this is the core of it that's bad. I feel embarrassed for Dakota because he literally just shit in his own breakfast. You do not bite the hand that feeds you, and he just did. And he drug everyone in around him, which is just crazy. And on the other side, I feel embarrassed for Zach. And I feel embarrassed for Zach because it's like, this not only makes Destination Fear look stupid, but it makes Zach look stupid. Because it looks like Zach has now, put hundreds of thousands of dollars into Dakota's show and signed him, only to turn around and just be blatantly disrespected over and over again. And who knows? And honestly, let's be real. If this tangent happened, there's probably other tangents that have happened, right? Like, if he's this comfortable blurting all this out, it's probably happened before. And
yep.
It makes Zach look stupid. It makes Zach look like, oh, I'm going to sign whoever, even if they shit talk me. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have respect for me. There's no respect. But, like, who cares? Like, I'm just going to sign him anyway. So it makes Zach look just as stupid as Dakota.
There's just no excuse for it. And I think what triggered me the most, and I think what triggered Krystal as well, is the fact that Krystal's been working her butt off to get Ghost Girl Diaries signed. And there are so many people in Dakota's position that would want what he has. And it's not enough. To me, it looks like it's not enough. And it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating to continue to see this behavior.
Well, really, realistically, how did Dakota get signed? He, was on YouTube. Zach thought it was funny. He was doing spoofs of him. Zach hired him as a camera tech. He trained him as a camera tech, and then he got signed to a series. Lucky you. That doesn't happen. He was given a golden spoon opportunity. I've been trying to get signed for 10 years, and I can't because I have a vagina, and I'm in a female, group, and a female-oriented filmmaker, and trying to enter a male world. And it's just not easy. And here's Dakota with this opportunity that was literally handed to him on a platter, and he's saying, like, F you, F you, F you. I'm going to make fun of Zach. Like, he's not good enough either. He just goes to haunted candy stores. How could he even say that? Zach's been to, like, the catacombs in France. He's done a lot of different things. He's done Bobby Mackey's. I mean, like, I am just baffled that he would shit talk his own executive producer, and then he turns around and makes fun of Holly. You're going to drag his girlfriend into it that has nothing to do with it? That is gutsy.
Laura said it could be a PR stunt, and I disagree because it's not public. I think you came in a little bit later, Laura. The group that he posted in is completely private, and fans were asking him if they could post it in their Ghost Adventures group, and he told them no. So I feel like it would be a PR stunt if it was, like, public, But this feels like he was just having a vent session and just, like, went off.
And then deleted it.
And then edited it 4 times after that because people were commenting on it. Some folks were defending Zach, saying, what are you talking about? He has actually been outside of the U.S. It's a mess. And I think that's when he started to edit it, was when folks were, saying things. People were like, oh, burn, what are you what, is there some beef with you and Zach? And it just causes problems. Mm-hmm. A little shade thrown Zach's way was one of the comments as well. It's unprofessional.
Well,
It's
okay, so
unprofessional.
for example, Kat, you've been in some negotiations with me. Our worst one was obviously, um, they were watching us like a hawk, and they actually forced Kat to take some things down off of her social media. Which, by the way, Kat is the least problematic person I've ever met. You know what I mean? Like, so like when I say they asked her to take her content down, I was like, this is ridiculous. You know what I mean? But they were literally like,
Yeah.
she either takes it down or it's at risk of the show. So my point is that when you sign contracts with these people, even preliminary negotiations, you have to kiss their butt. Okay,
You
like
have to.
whatever they
They're paying your
say,
bills.
yeah, they're paying the bills. Like whatever they say goes, and that's where it's so entitled for me to Dakota go on this tangent. Like I don't think he understands how good he has it. I don't like if Zach doesn't sign Destination Fear, who else is he going to get it to sign it? Because Zach is the biggest EP in paranormal. Hate him or love him, it is what it is.
He is the EP
Yeah.
in paranormal. He's it.
And
Zach
you
Bagans
just
is
shit
it.
in his Cheerios. So let me know how that goes. And I'm going to say this too real quick before you keep reading it. And I've been saying this for a long time, and I will say it again. I unfortunately think that Zach has a lot of fake people around him. And I've said this for a long time. Zach has a lot of money, and people see him as a grab bag and a money bag. He's a millionaire executive producer with power. And they don't see him as a person, as himself. They want to see how they can get in like Flint with him, to use him for his money and use him for his power. He has toxic people that work within the system at the museum that report to paranormal blogs if they find out any tidbit of little information out of his office or private information. These assholes report it to online blogs. They report things to like private friends that get, what I mean? Like he's under surveillance 24/7. And this is more proof that here's Dakota, who he has not only signed him now for 4 seasons, he's past the 3-season hump. He should be good to go. But not only that, Dakota's supposed to be one of his friends, and even his friend is now shitting on him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm like, I hope to God that Zach wakes up and realizes that he's surrounded by some toxic people, and he gets away from some of these people, because it's not productive and it's not helping him in any capacity. And I just think it's really, really sad. My future would be obviously to sign Ghost Girl Diaries, and then eventually I'd love to sign even more paranormal series, and I'll be an EP kind of where Zach's at, but in like a different specter. But I would, if someone did this to me, that I was putting hundreds, I was investing in them. This is a large investment. I would cut him faster than I threw out my old toothbrush. I don't have time for this shit. And so I wouldn't be shocked if Dakota gets cut after this, because this is crazy. It's ridiculous. It's an embarrassment on his part. It shows that he can't bite his tongue. And it's an embarrassment on Zach's part, because it makes Zach look stupid that he's like just willing to sign whoever, even if they aren't faithful to him. And that
he's throwing away all his hard work.
Well, yeah, that's the thing
too.
Is he's talking about, I'm editing and I do these 24-hour days. Then why are you trying to shoot yourself in the foot? Mm-hmm. You're trying to get signed for a 5th season. You're doing all the wrong things, honey. Mm-hmm. Which is also proof that he's never been in negotiations. And then it makes me realize how, it's been a long road with Ghost Girl Diaries, and it's been hard. And trust me, I've been in more negotiations than you can count. But then I was like, you know what? Maybe I needed that experience, because now I know what my worth is. I know what I'm worth. I wouldn't be editing like Dakota is. He should have had a post-production team by now. He's killing himself working 24 hours. Why? 4 seasons in, you don't need to do that. You're complaining. You should change that. You need to renegotiate it. But also, I've learned how these executives work, how these production companies work, how the networks work. And this is proof that Dakota just has no clue what he's doing. And I'm embarrassed for him, genuinely, that he's made such an ass out of himself. And once again, fans were bucking him on this negotiation. They didn't agree with him entirely, because they're like, I think one guy was like, well, if Zach doesn't sign you, that's the only way you're going to get successful. And it's true, because what other EP is out there? Like, and that tells me that Dakota doesn't even know the struggle that I've been through with GGD, and even with Kat being involved. It is so hard to get a series signed. And the fact that it was handed to him on a platter this should be easy, but he's now just shot himself. So I don't understand. It's very strange. Go ahead and read.
The comment was, I sincerely hope we can get at least a few more years here. As long as Zach is executive producer, I think you have a good chance to keep this ride going. And I'm like, I don't know. He just talked some smack. Okay, third paragraph.
And it's been screenshotted and sent out, so it's too late.
But we can't be the only ones. You know what I mean? Like, this has to be out there.
Oh, I'm sure.
I would emphasize the last two. This is Dakota's third paragraph. I would emphasize the last 2 episodes in Ireland on season 3 and all of season 4 to replay, is what he's saying. Mm-hmm. The Ireland episodes to show them we want more international. Views are like votes to get another season, and you can vote as often as you'd like. If you have Discovery Plus with ads. In the lower right corner during an advertisement, it many times says learn more. Click that learn more button. Companies love to advertise on shows with an audience that clicks the learn more link. We all worked hard, had many 24-hour sleepless days, and hopefully provided a good season. It is now up to the DFAM to share the show and hit that play button, and up to Discovery Plus and Travel to offer a new contract. For those that are interested, I hope this clears everything up for you. We are not allowed to do anything else in the haunted paranormal area, so they're not allowed to film anything else paranormal related until a decision's been made. Mm-hmm. So we came up with the idea of just doing something fun with some raw comedy to keep producing and entertaining until we find out about season 5. He said he hopes that the comedy is entertaining while we all wait for season 5. And that was the end of the post.
He says, I hope I cleared it up that I've talked shit about Zach and I'm making fun of him investigating candy stores.
And his girlfriend's house.
And going to his girlfriend's house. And I just, wow. Well, let me just say that I've been in a lot of negotiations and I would have never said that about any of the EPs I was in negotiation with. Mm-hmm. 1 second, my dogs are barking still. I don't know what's going on. It's got to be windy. It's been crazy here in Vegas. 1 second.
It's the wind. Yeah, we'll see what happens. And if they don't, he really has no one to blame but himself, to be honest. It was really silly of him to act out on impulse and say that. And it doesn't matter if it was edited or if he felt remorse. It's done. He did it. People commented on it. He was actively telling people not to share it because he was probably freaking out. And it just goes, you gotta stay calm. It is a stressful time. Negotiations are incredibly stressful, but you've got to keep it together. You got to keep it together.
I was just talking about Dakota, and I said that, I've talked about A-list, B-list, C-list celebrities and filmmakers and influencers. And when you're around different people in this community, which is a small genre, you start to learn who to trust and who not to trust, okay? And this is a perfect example if anyone listening or watching to the podcast later, if you decide to work with Dakota on the side or merge with him or work with him, on his series, he is not trustable. He's not trustworthy. Mm-hmm. If he is willing to throw his own executive producer under the bus like this, private or not, publicly, mm-hmm. If you work with him, even if you're an influencer, be careful what you say to him and tell him, because I wouldn't trust him releasing any sort of private information at all. And at this point, that goes for the entire crew of Destination Fear. Now I'm putting him in the same category as Aaron Sagers and Dave Schrader. Do not trust. Do not trust. Woo! Unfortunately. Yikes. So
yep,
I'm sorry, but it's true. If he's throwing his own EP under the bus, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, I want all of you that are listening and watching right now. Can you imagine having a job that paid you hundreds of thousands of dollars? If you had that said job, would you go and shit in your own Cheerios and cut your own throat and honestly possibly lose your contract? It's not worth it, is it? No, you would keep your mouth shut. That's where it's so shocking and entitled to me that he knows that he's 4 seasons in. I mean, you're going to make more money and production is going to go up every year. He's making more and more and more money. Why would you hang yourself?
Yeah.
That's better than a 9-to-5 job for $15 an hour working at Pizza Hut. Talk about entitled. He could go back to being just him again. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if he's still making money off of YouTube or whatever, but I can guarantee you he makes more money, being signed to Travel Channel than he does making at YouTube. But now he just basically was like, whatever. I'm just saying, since I've been in this industry, I would never, ever throw my EP under the bus. Ever. And it's just... And then the girlfriend thing, oh man, it's just... well, don't be shocked if you hear that Destination Fear got canceled. Don't be shocked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not by me, but by everybody's watching. Everybody's watching. And I mean, people are already taking these screenshots, sending them to me. That's why when I read this, I had to send it to Kat, because I was like, am I reading this correctly? Because like, this can't be real. Remember I said that to you?
Yeah. Yep. It was not... I had to read it through a couple times as well, because I didn't understand. But that's why I asked Krystal, I was like, is Zach still EPing this show? Because that would be the only thing I could think of why Dakota would be feeling any type of way. It still shouldn't have been said.
No.
But it would have made sense why he was kind of shooting shots at him. And Ghost Hunters is out of left field. I don't even know what the heck happened there.
Yeah, but this, I know he's saying this out of anger, out of expression, out of emotion, because he wants to get signed faster. But this is the wrong way to do it.
No, this is not good. It's not good.
Well, and now he's setting up a precedent for Zach as well, right? Because other people are going to see this now. Other people in the community are going to see, oh, well, he has Dakota who's like freely talking shit about him. I don't like Zach, but you know what? Maybe he'll sign my shit. That's what he's setting Zach up for.
Yeah, that's not...
And Zach looks just as guilty if he re-signs it. Because it's going to look like Zach's like, oh yeah, you can talk shit about me. It doesn't matter. I'll still sign you.
Yeah. And this is where the trust issues are.
And this is where...
If I were him.
Yeah, this is where you lose trust. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He gave the kid an opportunity. And he kind of just spat on it right now because he wants to be better.
It's not just that, too, though. It's also, Chelsea... There's been red flags with this whole thing. The worst reviews they've had with Destination Fear has been Chelsea. She's, people say, and I'll say it's fine, she's a girl that screams. Like, she's a screamer, right? Like, high-pitched screams, and it gets on everybody's nerves. I don't want to hear you scream. I want to hear you investigate. So she tried to get that under control, and they saved that for season 2 or whatever. But then you also have Chelsea, who is, like, on social media. My roommate got a puppy, and they're playing with the puppy. I'm sorry. I can't control the puppy. But then they have Chelsea, right, who is basically saying, freely and openly on social media that she doesn't want to continue to do Destination Fear. She's going to school to be an optometrist, a doctor. So, and that's what she wants to do. She wants to be a doctor. She's engaged now to a guy that she's been with, and she wants to be a doctor. So, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. It's a mess. I'm tired. I don't like talking about this stuff, but that was rough. And I you know what? I feel bad for Zach. And I hope to God he wakes up and gets these toxic people out of his aura, because he already doesn't trust people as it is. And I don't think this is going to be helping in any capacity.
No.
And if I were the EP of this, I'd be cutting them faster than Satan's pitchfork.
These are just such high stakes times right now because nobody knows where it's going to go with this merger. There's a lot to do in a short amount of time, and they don't have time for this bull crap.
No. Well, not only that, but now, then this is what Dakota's not thinking about, right? Like, this would be my last statement on this. You realize how in-depth not only the production company, the EPs, but also the network is, right? And I told you that they watch your every move. And when I say that, I mean it. Okay. They have people watching your social media. They have people watching you like a hawk. They're watching for bad press. They're watching for you on blogs. They're watching you everywhere. Right. And the minute a pin drops, that's like a negative mark on your profile or whatever. Right. And now they have screenshots of this with Dakota. So now Dakota has become a liability to the production company, the EPs, and a liability to the network. The probability of him getting re-signed now being a liability is a huge red flag, because now they're going to be concerned that, like, oh, well, what if he has another spastic moment and he has word vomit again, except it's something about his specific contract that we didn't want people to know about.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm wondering if there will be, I don't know, But I'm wondering if he'll get in trouble for sharing some of this information when he signed an NDA.
He's a liability.
It's a wicked issue.
And you know that too, because we have had that conversation when we've been in negotiations. Is, you know, they called you a liability. Kat had posted something about Salem. Don't worry, it wasn't anything bad, but they called her a liability essentially. And and this is not the same though. This is an actual liability. Because if he continues to talk smack like this and they have to get PR involved for damage control, that's money that the production company and network have to pay. And they don't like damage control. They don't like having to stunt this. They want it squashed. They don't want to have to deal with this stuff. Like, you're talking about millionaires who are throwing hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, even Zach included. They're throwing millions of dollars on the table. Do you think they want to deal with Dakota's bullshit rant over here? He's a liability. It's easier to cut it. It's easier to cut him. And I just think it's an interesting discussion to have this with you guys, because I've always been transparent about my film journey. And I've always talked about how hard it has been and what negotiations are like. And I think this is a perfect example for the public to see what happens when you're not being responsible. And now he also is an EP on his own show. And now he looks like an irresponsible filmmaker. And now he's pushing to put himself in the Nick Groff category. Where he went behind Travel Channel's back and signed multiple series with another network without telling Travel Channel. And then now Nick Groff has been blacklisted from cable networks because of what he did. So Dakota's just walking that fine line tightrope, and good luck, buddy. Let me know how it works out for you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's frustrating to see. Well, he might have just squashed an opportunity for himself.
Yep, he had it all, and there goes that. Kind of watching a downfall at the moment. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the tea, even though I wasn't expecting to do that. Let this be an educational experience for all. If you ever merge with Destination Fear and Dakota, beware. Do not trust easily. And next week we're coming in with Elfie. We're going to do an official 2023 stream where we talk about predictions that have gone on. So that'll be kind of cool. It'll be a lighter topic. And I don't know. You know, this is learning for everybody to watch around, that you can kind of really see what's about to happen. And it's sad, but he also did it to himself. So at some point you have to be like, oh, you take accountability for yourself. I don't want to hear him complain and be like, oh, we didn't get signed to 5th season because of the merger. No, you didn't get signed to 5th season because you were talking smack about your EP.
Yeah, someone asked, Laura said, how are the ratings for his show? He said that they're going well in his statement, Laura. But that won't matter if they find out he's breaking his NDA.
Yes.
And talking down about his EP. Like, you know, it stinks.
Once again,
that's why we're saying,
if you're
why ruin your hard work?
You're making hundreds, literally, whoever's out there watching, normal 9-to-5 jobs, even if you're a nurse or, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. Imagine making hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you were making that kind of money for literally 90 days, because that's what it takes to film usually, is 3 months, right? 3 or 4 months. You're making hundreds of thousands of dollars in a matter of 3 months. Would you go on a public forum and talk shit about your boss and talk shit about your boss's girlfriend? I think it's a bad idea if you like that paycheck. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. It's true.
That's just me. But yet he's also complaining about wanting to get re-signed. You're like, which is it? What are you doing?
I mean, it's going to be a normal human experience for not everyone to get along. We're not saying everyone has to get along to have business go, you know, but you've got to have some couth, and you've got to keep it together and just deal with it. You've got to deal with it. Plus, he has a crew of like 5 people. Talk about it amongst your crew and leave it there behind closed doors. Yep. Why?
It was like he was seeking validation from his fans, which he got a little bit, but a lot of other people were like, dude, you know, you're talking about...
It was a mixed bag to the point where he had to edit it 4 times. So, you know...
Yeah, he was like, I guess I better remove me talking about Zach before it gets out, even though it has been posted for hours and hours. It's too late. Ugh. Embarrassing. Oh, and that's how you don't do business in film. So everybody walk away with that lesson. You have just went to film school today. Congratulations. Everybody got a
Film school
lesson.
101.
Yeah, you're
Everyone
going to
gets a
graduate from Krystal's film school. There we go.
It's a high honor.
That's not what you do for networking, okay? That is not how you get a fifth season signed, okay? Let this be a lesson. Why are we laughing? It's just sick.
Because it's just common sense.
If they only knew the pain that you and I have gone through for negotiations, if Dakota only knew the pain we have gone through. I mean, and I've been in it longer by myself, but Kat knows the pain now. He would have shut up. If he even knew how hard and dog eat dog it is in film and in networks, and especially paranormal, he would just shut the hell up.
Yeah.
But it's too late now.
Gosh, can you believe it'll be 5 years in July for me?
It feels like it's been longer.
Look, I blame Amazon, okay? That was what made it longer, okay?
I have some trauma. It's fine.
It's just a long journey.
Woo! Got out of that one. We're fine now. We're good to
So
go.
happy 2023.
Happy 2023.
Make smart choices.
Don't talk about your boss online like that. And especially as a public figure. And we're good to go. You know what I mean? We will see you guys next week on Thursday with Elfie, and make sure you're following us all over social media. I reposted a bunch of stuff to TikTok today, and we will catch you guys. GhostGirlDiaries.com. We will catch you guys next time. Thanks, guys.